My dad had a tradition. Every year on my birthday, he'd pull out his old camcorder and record everything. The cake, the candles, my awkward dancing, even the fights over who got the biggest slice. From my first birthday all the way to my 18th, every moment carefully labelled and stored on dusty old tapes. I found them last month after he died, packed in a cardboard box in our attic. One by one, they were all there. Evelyn, first birthday. Evelyn, second birthday. All the way to Evelyn, 18th. Neatly written in his handwriting. All of them. Except one, my 7th birthday tape, was missing. I thought maybe he just forgot. Maybe the camera wasn't working that year. I even joked about it once, how my entire 7th year had been deleted by the universe. But then something strange happened. I was watching the tape from my 6th birthday. I expected to see balloons, my princess dress, the piñata. But what I saw instead was my mother staring at the camera with a look I didn't recognize. Fear. At first I brushed it off. But when I watched my 8th birthday, something else felt off. I wasn't smiling like I used to. I barely even looked at the camera. And there was a scar on my knee I didn't remember getting. It wasn't just the tape that was missing. It was something much bigger. And I couldn't shake the feeling that everyone else in my family knew exactly what it was. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that missing tape, about the look in my mother's eyes, about how I'd changed between 6 and 8, and no one ever explained why. The next morning, I asked her, casually, over breakfast, if she remembered why Dad didn't film my 7th birthday. She paused, just for a second, and then she smiled, too quickly. "Oh, honey, I think the camcorder was broken that year. You know how your dad was with gadgets." Her answer was simple, but her eyes didn't match her voice. Something inside me shifted. I didn't believe her, not fully, but I didn't push. Not yet. Instead, I did what my dad would have done. I started digging. I rewatched every tape. This time, not for the birthdays, but for the background. The little things people don't notice until they're looking for something. In my 6th birthday video, I caught a glimpse of a man standing by the kitchen door. Someone I didn't recognize. Tall, sharp jawline. He looked like he didn't belong. He wasn't in any of the other tapes, not before, not after. And in the 8th birthday video, I noticed something else. My gifts were all from my mum, none from Dad, not even a card. That had never happened before. And that's when it hit me. The tape wasn't missing by accident. My parents had erased that birthday on purpose. But why? I didn't have the answer, but I knew where to look next. My dad's office had been locked since he passed. The key still hung from a nail behind the doorframe, just where he always left it. I took a deep breath, turned the handle, and stepped into the room he never let anyone else enter. My father's office smelled like old books, paper, and aftershave, the kind of smell that clings to memory long after it's gone. The room was untouched. His notebooks were still stacked in perfect piles. His desk calendar still read the day before his stroke. I didn't know what I was looking for, until I found it. The bottom right drawer of his desk wouldn't open. It was the only one with a lock. For a second, I thought maybe he kept old tax papers in there, but something told me otherwise. I searched everywhere for the key. Drawers, bookshelves, coat pockets. And then I remembered something from when I was little. Dad used to hide important things in the hollow compartment of the globe near his desk. I spun it slowly, tapped the seam, and there it was, a small brass key taped to the inside. My hands were shaking when I unlocked the drawer. Inside was a mini DV tape, black, plain, no label, except a tiny piece of tape across the edge that read, in my father's handwriting, "Do not watch. Evelyn, age 7. I stared at it, not breathing. like just reading the words had opened something I wasn't ready for. Under the tape, there was a folded letter. My name was on the envelope, written in the same careful, steady script I'd seen on every birthday card growing up. I opened it. My eyes moved across the page, slowly. If you're reading this, I'm sorry. I should have told you the truth when you were old enough to understand, but I couldn't. I was afraid it would break you. I was afraid it would break me. You've always been stronger than you know. But what happened that day was something no child should ever remember. And yet I know one day you'll want to. That's why I kept the tape. If you choose to watch it, do it when you're ready. I love you more than life. Dad. I sat there for a long time, holding the tape in one hand, the letter in the other. I wasn't sure what scared me more, what was on it, or the fact that my father thought I'd need a warning to see it. But I knew one thing, I had to watch it, even if it changed everything. I found Dad's old camcorder in a box in the basement, wrapped in a towel like something he'd meant to keep safe but out of sight. The battery was dead, but there was a charger. I sat by the window while it powered up, watching the light blink green, feeling like I was waiting for a door to open that might never close again. When the camera finally turned on, I loaded the tape with shaking hands. The screen flickered. And there I was, 7 years old, wearing a red dress with ruffled sleeves. There was a cake on the table. My mother stood behind me, clapping and smiling too wide. My dad's voice behind the camera. "Say cheese, birthday girl." I smiled. But even then, something felt wrong. The room was too quiet. There were no other kids, no music, just silence and the sound of a forced celebration. Then the footage shifted. It looked like the camera had been set down, forgotten on a shelf or table. The angle tilted slightly upward, capturing part of the living room from waist height. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then voices, raised, arguing. I saw my mum again, standing near the kitchen, facing a man I didn't recognize. Tall, mid-30s, angry, his voice sharp and fast, like he was accusing her of something. I couldn't make out every word, but I heard my name, repeated, loud. Then my dad's voice, "That's enough, not today." The man shouted something and pushed past the camera's frame. Seconds later, I saw myself again, in a different room, sitting on the edge of the couch, clutching a stuffed bear. The same man entered the frame. His voice lower now. Calm, too calm. I watched, frozen, as he knelt in front of me. I couldn't hear what he said, but I could see my face. I looked terrified. Then suddenly my dad rushed into the frame, grabbed the man by the shoulder, and pulled him away. The tape cut to static. I pressed pause. My whole body was shaking. I knew what I had just seen. I didn't remember it happening, but I could feel the imprint of it, like a scar I'd carried without knowing where it came from. That man wasn't just a guest. He was someone close. And whatever happened that day, it was the reason I had changed, the reason the tape was hidden, the reason my father never spoke of it again. He didn't just protect me from that man, he protected me from the memory. And from the mother who invited him into our home. I didn't speak to anyone for the rest of the day. I couldn't. The silence was the only thing holding me together. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, the tape still clutched in my hand, and waited for my mother to come home. She walked in like nothing had changed. She set down her keys, hung up her coat, and smiled. "You're still here?" she said, surprised. "I thought you'd be gone by now." I didn't smile back. I slid the tape across the table. Her eyes landed on it. She froze, just for a second, but it was enough. "Where did you get that?" she asked, her voice low and sharp. "Dad left it," I said. "Locked in his desk, with a letter." She didn't touch the tape, just stared at it like it might explode. "You weren't supposed to see that," she whispered. "Why?" I asked. "Because it shows what really happened on my 7th birthday." Because it shows what you let him do? She looked at me then, really looked at me, and for the first time I saw something crack behind her eyes. Guilt, regret, or maybe just fear. He was my brother, she said softly. He was struggling. I didn't know what he was capable of. You knew enough, I snapped. You invited him in. You left me alone with him. Her face hardened. I never thought he'd hurt you. But he did, I said, my voice trembling. And Dad tried to protect me. You erased it. You buried it like it never happened. She didn't deny it. She didn't even try. We thought it was better that way, she said. Better for who? I asked. For me or for you? She didn't answer. I stood up. You don't get to decide what I remember anymore. And what are you going to do? She asked, her voice suddenly cold again. Go public? Drag your family through the mud? No, I said. Just the truth, wherever it leads. Her expression didn't change, but something in her eyes flickered. Not guilt this time. Fear. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet creak of the old house. The walls felt closer than I remembered. The air felt heavier, like it remembered everything I'd forgotten. I kept seeing my 7-year-old face on that tape, frozen, scared, silent. I couldn't remember the moment, but I could remember the feeling, the way I used to flinch at loud voices, the way I suddenly stopped asking for birthday parties after that year, the drawings I used to make with no faces. All the signs were there. No one connected the dots. Or maybe they just didn't want to. I opened my dad's letter again, rereading every word. His handwriting was steady, careful, just like he had always been with me. He hadn't just saved the tape. He'd saved the truth. Even if it hurt. Even if it came too late. In the morning, I packed the tape and the letter and drove to a local law office. I didn't know what the statute of limitations was. I didn't know if anything could be done, but I knew I had to try. I told the woman at the desk, I need to speak with someone about something that happened a long time ago. I have proof. I just don't know what to do with it. She looked at me for a long second, then nodded and led me to a small room. I handed over the tape and the letter. This isn't just about justice, I told her. It's about not letting him walk free. It's about not pretending anymore. She nodded. Then let's start. That night, I called a therapist. I didn't know what to say, so I just said the truth. Something happened when I was 7. I didn't remember it until now, but I need help remembering who I was before it. The woman on the line didn't pause. Then you've already taken the hardest step, she said. You chose to face it. I sat on the floor of the room I grew up in, surrounded by boxes of old memories, and for the first time in my life I felt something I didn't expect. Relief. Not because everything was okay, but because finally I knew why it hadn't been. 2 weeks later, I stood in front of my father's grave with the tape in one hand and the letter in the other. The wind was light, just enough to move the leaves. I didn't come to ask him why he didn't tell me. I already knew. He was trying to protect the last piece of innocence I had. And maybe, in a way he did. I knelt, placed the tape on the headstone and whispered, I found it. I know everything now. Thank you for saving the truth, even when you couldn't say it out loud. As I walked back to the car, I felt something lift. A weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying my whole life. That night, I took out my phone, opened the camera, and hit record. Hi, I said, my voice shaking a little. This isn't for anyone but you. Whoever you are, maybe a daughter, maybe just someone like me. But I want you to know something. Your past matters, but it doesn't define your future. You can choose what kind of story you become. I hit stop, saved the video and tucked it away. I wasn't ready to share it yet, but someday I would be. A few days later, I got a call from the attorney's office. They were opening a case. It wouldn't be easy, Anke. It might not even lead to charges, but it was a start. And that was enough. I also found a new therapist who specialized in childhood trauma. Our first session lasted 2 hours. I cried through most of it. But when I left, I didn't feel broken. I felt brave. On the drive home, I stopped by a local community center. They had a wall covered in flyers, grief groups, veteran support, trauma healing through art. I took one, then another. I wasn't sure where I'd fit in yet, but I knew I didn't want to hide anymore. And slowly over weeks, I began to reclaim the years I'd lost, not by erasing them, but by understanding them. Some memories came back. Some never will. But the fear doesn't own me anymore. One day, I'll tell this story out loud, maybe in a book, maybe to a room of strangers, or maybe just to one person who needs to hear it. Until then, I live. I heal. And every birthday from now on, I record it myself. Not just for the memory, but to remind myself that this life is mine now, all of it.